Good morning, everyone. This is Jose Galvin, and today we are doing an orientation on SEO, specifically with regards to listings. Hopefully, everyone can hear me okay. I'm going to go ahead and send a message in the chat, and if you can, I'd love it if you could say yes or no, and that way I can adjust or um, hit my headset or do what we got to do to get some signal in here. Great. Okay, so as always, we encourage participation. We're here for you. These orientations are designed just to really have a conversation, answer questions, and hopefully demystify some of these concepts that we see thrown about quite a bit. You probably received phone calls from salespeople, maybe in practice visits from folks. Um, so, like I said, we're gonna spend about an hour, maybe a little bit less, talking about SEO. And I guess before we get started on that, let me go ahead and recap what we did last week. This is, as you know, we have these chats every couple of weeks. Sometimes we'll do orientations on things like new features, makeovers, things like that. Um, some of my colleagues will do some, like for example, a makeovers where we'll go ahead and transform a site like this, which was nice a couple of years ago, to something really nice like this. And so we're excited to share these in some of these other ones, and we invite you to participate in all the different opportunities that we have. We also have these um, orientations or chats available at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/eVetSites, and you'll be able to see the recordings of the ones that we can go ahead and share. So last week we covered some search engine optimization things, and for those that don't know, SEO, search engine optimization, is how we can improve the search for organic results. That means that if somebody does a search for something, it appears not as an ad, but an actual result here. Last week we covered the on-site SEO. This has to do with the things that are on your web page, the content, locations, how you present those, and put the media that you put on your website, so labeling images and videos and things like that. And we talked a little bit about the site structure, how a site is put together. For example, having links at the top menu so that way they point down to the other menus on there. So if you missed that one, it's not going to tie in directly to this one, but there is a little bit of overlap. So I recommend everyone check out that video if you can, or just set up a one-on-one with me because we will be covering this. And part of SEO, ironically, is repeating things. So that way you're reinforcing some concepts, and that way you make sure that the visitor gets what we're trying to come across. Today specifically is going to be about offsite SEO. And this has to do with everything that is not on your website. In other words, when your site is crawled by Google, there's going to be links coming into your website, and these links have a lot to do. Will improve your site. They will help your SEO. And they're basically a way for Google to know that your site is important. I'm going to put in a screen right here for a program called Google Webmaster Tools. It seems a little daunting at first. Don't be dismayed. We're not going to go into all the complexities of this program. Just for now, just know that Google Webmaster Tools, or Google Search Console, as they call it this week, is a communications tool. It's a free tool. We're installing it on every one of our sites. If you don't have it, we can certainly add it and share access with you. All you need is a Google account, so that way you can connect with it. Now, like I was saying, it looks a little daunting because there's these graphs and all these crazy terms over here. But this is really just a communications tool and a performance tool. It's telling you, hey, here's the stuff that's doing great. We have a lot of people Googling. These are the webmaster tools for our website, for eVetSites.com. And apparently a lot of people Google eVetSites logins. That's a big one there. We can also look at the main one is just people just typing in eVetSites, and best SEO. Well, that's nice to see. Vin login. There's a lot of different things that people are using, and we have different iterations of eVetSites here. So I'm kind of sort of checking them all. I kind of bounce back and forth between the two, both the eVetSites and the regular um, www.eVetSites. It looks like people are doing things here. So we'll talk a little bit about this just to give you the idea of why it's important to have a directory listing or a link. So uh, of the many different ranking signals, the different things, the rules of Google and Bing used to rank, one of them is the outbound links, external links. And what that means is an external link is kind of like a reference. If you're traveling, you probably picked up your smartphone, whether it's an Android or an iPhone, and you've done a search for someplace to eat. Maybe you're at a conference and you'll ask your fellow conference going, hey, what's a good place to eat around here? They'll tell you, oh yeah, there's this deli. It's really overpriced, but if you walk 2 blocks, there's a really awesome place. The price is more reasonable, and you even have a nice patio or whatever. We use references all the time in our lives, in our non-digital lives. We ask people for advice. We ask for references for someone that's applying for a job. In relationships, we say, hey, well, so and so would be a good match for so and so. We say, oh, maybe not, or yes, they would be a great fit. So these references here, these external links, is that they will help improve your search because there's both a big quantity of them, as you can see here. People are linking to eVetSites from a lot of different places, and there's also a quality of it. So it's not just that they're everywhere, but I don't know how Animal Crackers Vet Clinic has this, but they do. And a lot of these are websites that, vin.com. This is a great resource. I mean, I'm assuming most folks here at least know of Vin, if not are members of Vin. So getting a link from Vin, because we are part of them, is still a fantastic resource. That's a great link to have. And in the quote unquote olden days, you may have heard people talk about link trading. That's kind of that's the old school way of doing things, which was you would say, hey, link to me, I'll link to you, and we'll game the system and we'll do well. Well, that falls into the quality business. You're not gonna um, a veterinarian in Sacramento may not have um, it's not going to be the same. They may not have anything to do with somebody even across town. So it's kind of weird if you have like a veterinarian in DC swapping links with someone in Sacramento. And so that falls under the quality. Just having the link doesn't work there. There has to be something tangible to connect it. So what can we do? Well, one of the things that uh, that people can go ahead and do is experience some links, put some links in there about what you do with the community. Now, we haven't done it here. Let me see here. Oh, I know. So here is one of our doctors, and he's they've got a site which is fantastic. They've also received a nice makeover. But what I like about them is that they made a special section just about media coverage. So here's all the things that the doctor and his wife do. They were featured in the local paper. They're talking about these things, and they have these links to these different places, and then hopefully they'll have some links going back. So this back and forth is going to help out And they also have other things where they talk about their involvement with the community. They set up this thing called the Courage Fund, um, and this is kind of the extreme end of it. I'm just showing it not to shame anyone or anything like that. I'm just saying here is like the extent that you can go. So in this case, they created a page. They have this fundraising for these critters that are helping out. It looks like they put some heavy tags on there, which is fine. And they're talking about their involvement with their local communities. So as you can see, there's a lot of stuff here. I can just do the search for Wichita, and it's showing up 8 times here. So Wichita Fire Department, Wichita Police Department, these are all great, and they've got information here on how to donate to this fund. Now, if you have a little league that you sponsor, if there's some sort of community outreach that you do, if there's some sort of any sort of charitable contributions, even if it's something like just the staff, put on join the 5K and threw in stuff, make a page for that, link to that charity, and then they can link and ask them if they'll link to you. And by doing so, you're going to be increasing the amount of these inbound links, and then thus you'll be also improving your SEO. I heard a couple of beeps, so if you're just joining us, we're just starting in to our discussion of searching and optimization in regards to directory listings and local listings and how they can help you. And if you've missed part of it, don't worry. We're going to record the whole thing so you can then see the stuff that you missed. And as always, we encourage everyone to ask questions along the way. Okay, so let's go back again. We're going to talk just to recap this first part. Inbound links are good. Having links on other pages that link to you are great. If you have, for example, a blog that you do on Blogspot or WordPress or something like that, link back to your site. If you're on social media, you have, for example, um, there is a spot in your social media, Facebook, Instagram, etc., for you to link back to yourself. So take advantage of that. Here we are. Here's our shameless plug. So here is our link from Instagram. And we don't have that much followers on here. Hopefully you guys will join in on this, but we've got the link to eVetSites. So every time somebody clicks on this, it's going to go ahead and benefit. So if you have any social media, it's nice to reach out. You're reaching people in that sphere, but it's super important to have the contact information out there. Does anyone on this call want to have their site be sort of the guinea pig? Because I'm going to show some stuff in a second here. And if so, just put it in the chat. There are several. What we're going to do here is we're going to use kind of a grader or an analytics. Okay, thank you. So we've got ANC, and look at this. I love this. Awesome class participation today. So I'm going to do the Animal Medical Center. They're in Morgantown, West Virginia. And we'll also do Woodland Vets as well. Wow, look at this. We'll do everyone. So these folks here at Moz, this is a third-party SEO kind of clearinghouse. They do webinars as well. It's a little more advanced because they're doing a lot of enterprise level things. They also sell services, and by the services, what I mean is they'll actually do it for you. They'll go in and do that. But let me walk through just some of it, and then you can be the judge as to whether you need to pay somebody to do it or not. We have no affiliation with them. I'm here strictly to use their tools. They've got a check the business listing, and that's what we're going to do today. So in this case, we're going to start off with our first volunteer, Animal Medical Center. Looks like these folks are in Morgantown, West Virginia. And let's put in the zip code 26505. And if you want to run this on your end as well, you can. The Here's the URL. I'll put it in the chat. Okay, so here it is, Animal Medical Center. What this is going to do is take a really cursory and very subjective view of your inbound links, directory listings, and local business listings. And so in this case, they've got about a dozen or so of these directories, and they're giving you a grade according to how many of those are, um, according to Moz, are there. We can see that Google is here, Facebook, and then some other smaller names. In the incomplete, we'll get an idea that in some of these places there's a missing listing, and also there's a little bit of a difference in the way that the name is presented. Here's the name of the practice: Animal Medical Center, CPR. Here it's Fido, Animal Medical Center spokesbird. Uh, so maybe the bird has the bird or the practice has his own page, and I don't know if the practice has one. But what you want to do ideally is have these be consistent. There's a term in SEO and specifically for listing called NAP. It stands for name, address, and phone number. You want it to be the same across all your media. So if you're taking notes, one of the things that's really important is to have your business card. You kind of hold that up as that's going to be the model for how it's presented. If you spell it RD there, uh, Facebook page with our PO. Yes, you can. So we've got a question in here. That's a Facebook page that I think the practice owner set up. Can we change our Facebook page name after the fact? Yes, you can. There are, let me see here. I have to dip into my phone for a second here. And I manage a couple of pages, so let's see here. All right, so I've got a couple of them that I deal with, some silly ones, some serious ones. So for ours, here is where we've got the name. And if you need to change the name, you can within it. I think you can only do it once or twice. It's within the page info. You can also change this here. And after a certain amount of likes, you can go ahead and change it. So yes, you can. Um, um, Especially we can dive into that later on, but you certainly can change it. And in fact, we recommend you choose a name that's as close to your practice name as possible, so as to avoid confusion, right? Because we want this brand consistency to kind of reverberate across these different platforms. Okay, so we got animal. There's some room to improve here. We've got the domain name there, so that's great. And here's some inconsistencies. Again, there's the difference. And look, we even have a different phone number here. I spoke to a doctor yesterday, and she was well, not indignant, but she was confused. She's like, how come my phone number keeps changing? Well, it turns out that they had signed up for one of those yellow pages type services, and they had actually requested a script that changes the phone number on their website. And so that way they can track the phone calls coming in. Now, I don't want to bum out anyone that has employees at any of the yellow pages or whatever, but you don't need that because you actually can get that information through Google Analytics and Google Webmaster Tools, and you can actually track that right through the Google Business page. So there really isn't a need to pay for that. But I know that sometimes there's some kind of custom services that go along with it. And if you have any questions about that, let me know. That this person, once you figured out that mystery, she understood that the phone number was different. Other time, and also sometimes there will be changes. Maybe there's a change in ownership or something like that. That's all the more reason to get in here and to make sure that these listings are correct. All right. So what do we do with these listings? Oh wow, look at all these. Let me do another one, and a couple of here. Woodland. All right, let's do it. All right, so here's another one. Oh, here's it. All right, so I've spoken with the folks here, and they actually have two services here. They've got the boarding barn, which is their sporting facility, and also their hospital. So this is kind of a unique thing, and there's a lot of businesses like this where you have two or more um, kind of entities at one physical location. What I would do is pick one name. So because on their website it says Meadow Ridge Veterinary Hospital and the boarding barn for pets. So if the is important, you may want to update that on the Facebook. Here's another one. This one just says Meadow Ridge Veterinary Hospital. On this particular site, there's no web page. This one has the web page, but it doesn't have the name of the hospital. So we can certainly fix those, and that's the end one. All right, now I'm going to do one more here. This one is called. We're going to Missouri now. And again, don't be if you see these scores, don't panic. Like I said, this is a very subjective list. I'll explain why in a second, right after we kind of give just a really quick look at this one. So here's Woodland Animal Hospital. There's some consistent address here, 600 Eastland Drive. Phone number is consistent, but it looks like they're missing one, and there's nothing on Facebook. Now, let me pause here. I know that there's a lot of folks that on different social media, there's kind of a love-hate relationship, especially for Yelp. People, I've heard, want to be kind to them and not bash them, but I've heard complaints that their salespeople can be a little aggressive. I've heard that their tactics are a little overbearing. So that's okay. We But if you don't want to be on there, that's all right. And if you are on there and you're not showing up, it could be that there's a restriction on your page. Sometimes people will, not thinking, will set their page and they'll put a restriction on there, and then that's going to cause it to not show up. Um, so the folks from this particular one say that we do have a listing, but it's not showing up on here. This may be the case where it may be just set up not incorrectly, but in such a way that it's only available to certain audience. For example, a country listing, so saying it's only available to people in Canada or only available to people in the United States, or maybe there's an age restriction, and those are things that will cause the Facebook page to not show up. So here is a link for that, just in case anyone has that issue where theirs is not showing up. Can't see my page when it's logged out of. So there's a couple of things that can happen here. If you've got a country restriction or an age restriction, that may have something to do with it. The other thing may be that it's just that this data isn't infallible. This is kind of like a census. There's always going to be a little bit of folks that kind of slip through the cracks. And so it may be that the bot that they're using, the crawling systems that they're using to have it, to find and catalog this data, just haven't gotten there yet, or they missed it for some reason. Um, Again, this is not a comprehensive list. It's just a nice list that I use when I'm speaking to folks because it's a little it's easier to illustrate than to talk about these really kind of esoteric terms. Here's some different sections here. There's some duplicates. Looks like the doctors have their own. If you're a one doctor practice, it's okay to go ahead and have your name in there. Dr. Joe Smith, mobile veterinarian or whatever, that's fine. If you have multiple folks there, multiple doctors, then you want to brand the practice. So you can go ahead and have these be consistent so that there's matching up and again, make sure that each one has it. So let me just check right here. And so for Woodland Vets, let's have a chat about that one. Yeah, it's definitely there. I can see it. Check those restrictions just to see, because you never know. Sometimes they will have something on there. I'm obviously over 18, so I can hop on. And look, here is here's the URL to the website. So this is fantastic. This is exactly what we want it to do. So earlier I kept stressing out about, don't worry about this list. So I'm going to show you another list, and we're going to talk in general about the directory listings and how we can do them, and how you can actually log in and take control of them. This is a great resource here, so I'm going to share it in the chat. The folks at HubSpot do a lot of the same things that the people at Moz do. They sell services, they've got information, and this particular page is I use this all the time. Hey, look, there's an app. So if you add or update your business, make sure you provide the same information. A link to your website, backlinks, inbound links, they're crucial. Right? This helps out. You've heard me prattling on about this earlier. Having a nice description of the page, and multimedia, have some pictures at the ready so you can go ahead and share them. So these are the lists, these are the directories and the listings which I have more of a confidence in than the ones over here. The ones on here, we've got maybe about a dozen or so. Some of these aren't very big. If you kind of scroll over, you'll be like, I've never heard of these guys, but I have heard of Google, I have heard of Facebook. And then, well, this doesn't really help because it doesn't tell us. There's other checkers out there. What I would recommend is to bookmark this page, give me a call, and we'll just start doing these, because honestly, the only ones you really need to do are these right here. And I'll tell you why. The ones down below, they all sort of pull the information from the bigger guys. But if you poison the well and you've got bad information up here, then it runs downstream. So if you were to do them in order, not along the HubSpot way, but the Jose way, what I feel the order should be Google, because once you finish this one, then the big one is done with just the click of a button. It's easy to go ahead and do it. They'll copy everything over. And then, of course, Facebook, Apple Maps, because everybody uses Apple Maps if you're an iPhone user, it's a default listing that's on there. The link that they have on here is actually incorrect too. This takes you to your Apple IP, but really it's Maps Connect. So if anyone, I'll just put that in here. And what this does, since if you go into a store, an Apple store, and you buy an iPhone or an iPad, any iOS device, the default application will be the Apple Maps product. Now, when it first started out, it was a little rough around the edges. It wasn't nearly as good as the Google Map application, but it has since improved vastly, and it's a great way to reach people because everyone's on their phones, and if you don't have um, your listing on there and your listing is not correct, you could be missing out on potential clients because this is how people view this service, right? Um, I can't count how many times, having a conversation at home. Hey, what about such and such? And then I pick up the phone and do a quick search. Right? I don't open my laptop. I'm in front of these two monitors for 8 hours a day. I try to minimize it when I get home, but I don't open up the laptop there. Even though we'll have more laptop there, it's just easier to reach into your pocket. And I think a lot of people are like this now. And you can see these sort of statistics when you go into uh, the uh, the links here on how folks are using it or things like that. So Apple Maps, Facebook, Bing, Yelp, all of these are great. That will and how you can do them is like this. I'll go ahead and we'll do a pretend one for Google just to show everyone how this works. First step is to go to business.google.com. I'll put this in the chat as well. In this case, I've already verified it, but I'll go ahead and pretend that we're doing a new one. When you first sign in, you'll usually see something that's the dialogue will be like this. It's going to ask you for the name of your business. So in this case, I'll start one of these here. And then you're going to select yes, because obviously, yeah, you do have a location. Then they're going to ask you for your address. So here is where you're going to put in. And again, remember, this is the important part. This is where it's going to show up on Google. So if this says 460 Hartman Run Road, then you want it to say road. If on the business card it says RD, then you want it to be, whatever it said. And then have that consistency. All right, so this is good. It looks like somebody already has a listing on here. So the folks at Animal Medical Center may already have one. So if you encounter this and you're wondering, well, what the heck? I don't remember doing this. That's okay. This happens often. There's a lot of turnover. Sometimes people will verify something and not let other people know. You can select this doesn't match, or you can do this. So there, we'll go ahead and click it. All right, so look, this listing has already been claimed. Again, if this is something that you've forgotten how to do, or that you've forgotten which email you've used, they'll tell you. It's already been verified by, and I have no idea what email this one is, but I'm assuming that somebody has picked something here so they've done it. So what you could do is you can request access, and then it'll hopefully jog the memory. If you do this, you can ignore this, by the way, whoever's on this. So I'm only going to do this just to show. Actually, I'm not even going to click it. We don't need to go ahead and do that. So that's perfect. So yeah, this is already claimed. So go ahead and I'll ignore this. But so this is going to an email, and if you forgot what the email was, if you hit request access, it will go ahead and give you access after a certain amount of time and after attempting to contact that other email. So there's always hope, especially when I know we have folks that are using lots of different email addresses. It's hard to keep track of them. My advice is to create a Gmail address that's just for these listings and stick to that one. Create a Google address that's just about listings and social media, and then that way you don't have to worry about, well, which one is it? Is it the Yahoo address or the AOL one that the doctor sometimes remembers or whatever? So since we haven't actually done the listing, I'll go ahead and back out here. Yeah, okay, so it's not in there. So the part that'll happen after that is a verification. And the verification, what it'll do is they're going to ask you to either send in a postcard or they're going to send a postcard to you or they're going to call you. If you're an established business, you may get the opportunity to use that phone number for verification. If you are a new practice, um, then you're not going to be able to do that. They want to make sure that you're on the up and up, and and that's it. You know, you're gonna there's they want to make sure that you are who you are, and so sometimes they do it by the phone, sometimes by email, um, but most cases you're going to get the postcard. And so when you get the postcard, uh, you're going to have to just wait. And if it's a new location, if you have a new practice, uh, maybe just you know a new suite in a strip mall or you know kind of a business park or whatever, talk to me as soon as you can do that. If you have a colleague that's working on this sort of thing, have them call me. We want to help everyone get their listings up to date and on there as soon as possible. I was talking with a gentleman who was working and he couldn't get mail because there just wasn't any sort of mailbox or anything. And then when I told him about the importance of this, he went out and got a door that has a little mail slot in it, and that way he could get the postcard, spoke with the post office, and we could verify the practice. And now everything's going to work because we're going to have the listing going live at the same time the business is literally being built up. So so we did the Google one. Bing is a lot similar. The Bing Places is the place where you can go ahead and do those. If you already have, if you're logged into your site and you're or logged into your Gmail account, the one that you've used to claim the business, you can go ahead and do the Bing one. And if you notice here, it'll say, well, here's your Google account. I'm actually not going to do it on this one because I can see here by the picture that this one's my personal one. So let me go to this one here. And as you can see, we've got a couple of different. So here it is. Now I've already done it. And the nice thing is we've got the business and it's published, it's verified. Having a verified business is a boon for you because then people seeing it will know that it really is you guys. It is your practice that claimed it, and you don't have to worry about it being something kind of shady or whatever. So it again, the Bing is another example of a it's not Google, but it's definitely going to reach a lot of people because Bing is the default search engine for Internet Explorer and Edge, whatever they're calling Internet Explorer. Yeah, that's it. Microsoft Edge. And Microsoft Edge and Explorer are the default browsers for Windows computers and devices. So again, if somebody has, it's not very techy, they're just using the stuff that comes with their devices. They go and they buy a phone and they're doing a search. Chances are they may actually be using Bing when they say that they're going to Google something, and that's fine. We're not being tech snobs here. We're just aware of what they're using, and we're going to meet them there. Right? We're going to have our business listing set up, correct information. You're going to have your hours. You're going to have your location. You're going to talk about the different things that you offer, and so this way, hopefully, you can reach people. Go ahead and see here. Hours are really important. So all of these. So the general process goes like this. You sign up for a listing. You put in your information, your hours, your location, phone number, obviously the website for the practice, and then there's a verification process. you ever get to one that's charging you money, go ahead and bail out. Um, of the top 12 that I mentioned, I don't see any that you have to pay, which is really weird. But as you get down over here, some of these, where is it, and the U.S. directories, there's some in there that you do have to pay. I don't know why that is. It kind of cracks me up that these guys have kind of the nerve to go ahead and ask people for money when they're just a fraction of what Google or Bing are. But it is what it is, right? So and hopefully, everyone on this call will check in with me, and we'll do a one-on-one so we can go ahead and do a couple of these over the phone. And that way you can log in and see the process. Again, it's very simple. Sign up, put in your information, do the verification. Sometimes verification takes a bit. And then as time goes by, you're going to see more and more. You'll see this score improve, hopefully here. But overall, you'll see it improve because you're going to have more listings out there that have the correct information. I haven't paused for questions in a while. Does everything I've covered make sense so far? Okay, great. All right, so let me talk about some of the nice things that we can do once you've verified this, because we want to know. I've talked a lot about the work that goes into it. So let's talk about the benefits, and that's the real icing on the cake. So when I started doing this, we've been doing this a couple of years now, offering SEO and talking about things that we're doing. But I ironically have sort of neglected the actual eVetSites stuff until semi-recently. As you know, we send out some MailChimp emails that have that's the system that we use for sending out the reminder emails, letting you know about the different products that we're doing, outages, and any kind of improvements. It's kind of our way to blast everyone via mail for our subscriber list. And in that, I've been starting to ask folks, hey, if we've been kind, let us know. Let me see if I can find one here. Here we go. So we're talking about spring. So here's this one. This is us right here. This is the last one. More SEO. It's kind of generic. And so I said, if you've helped in any way, we welcome your kind words on Google, on the bin message boards, or both. So just putting this in here has yielded these reviews here, and this can make such a huge difference. For us, this is nice. I mean, honestly, it's just fantastic to hear from our doctors. They're all wonderful people. It's fun to see this in here, and as you can see, this is all relatively new that these are picking up in here. The reviews are super important, especially for Google, because they can be a tiebreaker if you're looking for a vet in any particular part of town. So let's go ahead and look at one of them here. I'm going to do Jefferson City. I think this is Woodland. So this is one where I'm hoping we're going to have a chat because it's not coming up on the first part. Now let's look at the map. Hey, there's Woodland. They're the fourth one down. They're over here to the south of it. And if we were having the one-on-one conversation, I would say, well, show me the middle of town, because it looks like this is kind of spread out. Google is very big, especially on the map portion of it, to showing the things that are close to the city center, and also your reviews have a lot to do with it. So take a look at these guys. 84 reviews, which is fantastic. And I don't know if they have somebody helping them, if they've got some SEO person kind of going to bat for them. But getting those reviews is great, because that's going to go. Yeah, Google Ads. There you go. That's a part of it. We never know what the other guy or gal is doing. But look at this. We've got 41, 5-star ratings. So this is fantastic. This is going to help out, and you can still get more. There is a way to go ahead and again, nicely ask people to go ahead and do it. It can be as subtle again as to you can putting a link here, and I can show you how to, we may not have time for that on this particular conversation, but maybe on a one-on-one, I can show you how we can find this particular link so that when you click on it, this comes up. And you want to make it as easy as possible for people to do that. And so, again, you can manage these reviews here. If there was something that somebody said that was untrue or an exaggeration, I really, I'm not really big on getting into the muck with them. I mean, my friends and I will be, I guess, muckrakers when we're talking about music and stuff, or I don't know conversations, but from a business standpoint, you don't want to do that, right? So if somebody says things that you have two options. You can't really hide bad reviews. My advice is to just get as much good reviews as you can, and you can do it. You can go ahead and ask people, hey, if we helped you out, if there's somebody that you have a rapport with, maybe there's a client that you haven't heard from, make it easy for them. Do what you can to send them that link and do that. This is a net benefit, right? And there's always going to be people that are kind of sourpusses or whatever. We can't help them, but we can go ahead and help the majority of people. And so this is one of the nice things about this is having that out there. Again, we're really lucky because we'll get emails from people that are really happy with the website. They're happy with Bing. They're happy with ESPN. There's a lot of overlap there between those different communities. And we hear about that via emails, or maybe somebody will say something to my boss or whatever. But this is a public way of doing it. And so this is one of the nice things about having control over this, is that you can then go in and respond to people and thank them. We haven't done any thanks yet or anything like that, but you can see them there. The other thing is that you can add photos to this. I haven't done any in a while, and so this picture right here, is it really accurate? I mean, that's the blue building where Paul sits. We're all like over here in this one, and it's mostly it's like a small call center. So it's I'm over here for now. I'm going to be evicted pretty soon. I'll be moving to a cubicle over here. But my point is, if you have an entrance that's easier to see, or maybe it's not obscured by trees or it's set back, this is a great place to go ahead and to put in a picture so you can make things easier for people to get to. Google Street View doesn't always offer the most flattering side of your practice. So if you go out there with a smartphone, take a nice picture, like for example here, it's very confusing. There's no parking. Maybe people are just like, well, what's this? Maybe we want to show this one. And that way people can see that there's, oh, look, there's parking, and there's trees, this is a nicer thing. And once they're there, they can figure out that, there's been people in this building, this building, this building, and this building. But, my point is that you have that control over that in the Google My Business. And also, in addition, you have these insights, which is another form of analytics. You can find out what people are typing in to get to you. The majority of it seems to be eVetSites. SEO is a big one. People love SEO. They want to know how to make their site do better. This is not something that's going away. People want to go ahead and have their business, and it doesn't matter if it's veterinary practice or a hot dog stand or a food truck or whatever. Everybody wants their businesses to do well. So we get a lot of calls about that. But again, these are all free. These are all great things you can go ahead and do. I don't have any messages for people, but you can go ahead and do so. And the final thing I want to share, which is really cool, and I haven't done one of these for this particular business, but I have done it for one of the pages that I manage. I'll put it on here right now so nobody thinks I'm proselytizing. I'm just showing this thing. There we go. thank my wife for this one. She tells me, please, oh, they do website stuff. And so now I'm doing this. So I'm managing this page. The posts are really cool. Post is free advertising. So if there's something that has to do, like in this case, we're we're uh, we're giving people a new time for a church service, you can go ahead and change that. If there's something new that's happening, an event, something that's happening, an offer, hey, new customers get 10% off. You can put that in there, and it'll appear on your site, and then you can actually share it somewhere on your social media. So it'll look like this. It's not a pop-up, but it'll appear within the page. So it's a really cool feature called posts. And again, I, I I don't understand why anybody wouldn't do their Google uh, business page. It's by and large all positive stuff. They're going to benefit because they're going to have accurate information. You're going to benefit because that accurate information is going to be out there. It is a win-win for everybody. So again, top dozen or so, these are the ones that matter. Have one email you're going to use for them. You may also, and I forgot to talk about this at the beginning of the chat, you may also find that it helps to keep the passwords down on just like a notepad, just a piece of paper. I know it's not the most secure thing, but it will help you keep track because there are so many of them. Let me do one final one. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about what I've covered so far? You know, we're coming up onto the almost the end of this chat. All right. I get a lot of people that ask about um, paying for service. What I'd recommend, honestly, is doing a couple of these with me for free, and just calling me. We'll set up a couple. We'll do, and then you make that determination whether or not you want to pay to have somebody else do it. It can be pretty pricey. So let me do one of these. Uh, let's see, who have I not picked on? Woodland last time. Let's do Morgantown here. And I'm giving this information again, not because I'm endorsing any one particular platform or anything like that. I get asked this question often enough that I figured I should include it. I want to give you as much information as you can have so that you can make an informed decision on where you want to go. I know that time's important as well for a lot of you. Time and money are both important. Obviously, that's why you're here. And you can go ahead and save certainly a lot of money by just doing it yourself. Um, there are some cases where I may think that somebody might need to pay somebody, and that's if they're severely understaffed, they're brand new practice, they're just trying to get this off the road. But at the very least, I'd love to have us to have this conversation so we can see about what we can do. Okay, so here is another set of listings, and look, they have a 72% optimization rate for Animal Medical Center in Morgantown, West Virginia. As you can see, hey, look, there's Fido again. City Search has Karen. Deb Bolton in the local database. I apologize. My screen's a little wacky. Can everyone still see the screen? Super sorry about that. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got these different databases, these different places. Look, here's a grooming. I don't know if that's another place. I have no idea where this one came from. Um, this is a Canadian uh, offering. You know, it may be that if you want to go ahead and do this, honestly, the minority of them need to be fixed. Most of them seem to have the correct information. But if you wanted to go ahead and do that, then yeah, so they'll ask you for this. Oh, good grief. All right. They've got the pricing somewhere. Uh, again, I am so sorry. I don't know why my computer decided to do this right now. Okay, let me just pause this for now. So I get my screen back up. Thank you. I just have too many windows open. Okay. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up right here because the computer is seizing up a little bit. But hopefully you got that last bit where, Yext will does have they do have these places that do offer this if you pay a little bit of money. Um, it can be a little pricey, um, and again, I don't think that it's something that most folks really need. But there are, I always want to give the information just in case somebody wants to go ahead and get that, make that decision. So, does anyone have any questions about what we've covered? I know that there's been a lot to digest. I don't want it, and I would love to have a follow-up conversation with everyone here. Excellent. Well, I want to thank everyone for showing up today. I know that everyone is busy. We've got a lot going on. I invite you to go ahead and join us on social media. Um, we've got, I'd love to see you. Give us a follow. Facebook.com/eVetSites, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube. And if anyone has any questions, of course, you can always reach out to us. My name's Jose. We support at eVetSites.com. I'd be glad to help all of you. And again, thanks everyone for showing up today. If anyone has any questions, we'd love to help you. And if you have any, and if we have helped you, again, we welcome your kind words. Thanks again for showing up today, and we'll speak to everyone soon.